Good evening. It's now 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call to order our November 20th, 2018 regular scheduled board meeting. Tonight, one face has changed on the board. We welcome Commissioner Stapleton. And I've asked Commissioner Clyde Fleming to open us with the invocation and the pledge. If you to stand.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight in your name. We thank you for all your blessings. God, we thank you for how you made a way for us. We thank you for being a provider. We pray that you bless our country, bless our commander-in-chief. God, give strength and wisdom, knowledge and understanding. Watch over and protect. Father, we know that you're able to make a way. We pray, God, that you give us guidance tonight in this meeting. Pray that you look on our local officials, make a way for us. Father, we love you. We thank you. Bless our families, oh God, in these times. Bless us in the holiday season, for we know that you're able to do all things except fail. Father, we ask these blessings in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is to hold election for the chairman for 2019. New chairmanship will begin proceeding over meetings December 4th or sooner in case of emergency. Open the floor up to nominations.
I can flip a coin, Mr. Chairman, if you like.
I sound like I might have to.
You got a five-sided coin?
Roll a dice.
Draw straws.
Anyone wants to do it, raise your hand.
I'll nominate you if you want to do it. I can't see your hand go up.
That's right.
No, sir. He don't want to do it. He said he didn't raise his hand. Well, if nobody wants to do it, I'll do it again. I'm not crazy about it, but I'll do it.
Is that your hand going up?
If you want me to raise it, I'll raise it.
Well, we nominate you to remain the chairman.
Second.
Got a nomination from Mr. Fleming. Commissioner Gamble as chairman. Got a second from Commissioner Richardson. Any discussion or other nominations? Hear none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move on to hold election for the vice chair of 2019. I have a nomination for vice chairman. Don't all jump and speak at once. Raise your hand.
Hey, I'll raise my hand.
All right. You raised your hand, going to throw it out there, I'll nominate you. Nominate Mr. Hale for vice chair.
Second.
You got a second?
Good.
Any other nominations or any discussion?
Close nomination.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, congratulations, Mr. Hale, as vice chairman, and thank you all for electing me as chairman for another year. Moving on to, sir? Right now?
Yes, sir. I mean,
Just,
standing right up there and we get our picture.
you gonna get his picture too?
Yes, sir, please.
Better take the flash off.
Come on, Michelle, real quick. I can see your ass right now.
Better turn the flash off.
What's the flag?
Y'all making fun down there?
There you go.
Thank you, I appreciate that. What do I know? Thank you. All right.
All right, moving on to item number 3, approval of minutes from November 8th, 2018 regular scheduled board meeting. Was there any changes or corrections?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On page, what says book at the top, page 13 at the bottom, in the third line of the second paragraph, at the very end, it says, disclose that a later meeting once the property has been purchased. That's been optioned to purchase.
Option, okay. You got that noted, Mr. Spencer? Any other changes or corrections? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming, second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to consent agenda. You got item 4 through 19.
Hang on, I know there's one in here that I want.
Any items wishing to be pulled for discussion?
Need a second. Got to find it. 13, please.
Item 13. Any others? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve 4 through 12 and 14 through 19?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, item 13, authorization to purchase reconditioned, no, that's 12, I'm sorry. Authorizations to purchase 2019 Polaris UTV from McDuffie's Marine and Sporting Goods of Lake City. Mr. Richardson?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions regarding, I guess, how bad is the maintenance on the current one? I mean, how much maintenance are we doing on the current one that we can justify $25,000 purchase for this one?
We're putting considerable amount of maintenance on it. It's got 7,000 hours on it currently. We use it all of our special events, every event out at Spirit of the Suwannee, parades, football games. The first one that we did purchase was in 2014. It was actually on a grant, and it has a patient transport system that goes in the back of it that was $5,000 to $6,000 plus a $14,000 stretcher that sits on it. So you have to have a certain weight capacity, and the patient transport system only fits the Polarises because they have the widest body.
Okay, so that was one of my questions was the current, your current setup on the one would be transferred over to the new one.
Currently, what we're planning on doing is we had a golf cart that we got on a grant as well. Golf cart is completely done. The golf cart's not four-wheel drive, and being out at Spirit of the Suwannee and these other areas, sand has killed the motors and different things, so we wanted to upgrade to a four-wheel drive. We're taking the current one, moving it over, and putting our fire extinguishment system in it, and this one we're purchasing will be our new transport because it has a heavier suspension than our current one for patient transport. So we're going to utilize it in a different capacity that's not as used as much, so we can extend the length of the use side of it.
Okay, and I don't want you taking this wrong. I'm not trying to pick a
Oh,
fight
no.
or anything. I'm just trying to understand.
Oh, yes, definitely.
This was an issue back during the budget workshop. Why was this put on your list of
Because-
things you'd like to see happen?
Because we didn't plan on having as major issues as we are with it. We just had to redo all the injectors in it, and they said that the high mileage on it, they're going to have to rebuild the motor if we continue at the rate we're going. It was unexpected at the time, but with the events at Spirit of the Suwannee, different things like that, they're looking at continuing more, and we do a lot of transports with that thing.
Okay. You answered my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It not being a budgeted item, or you just absorbing it in your budget?
What I'm doing is, it's just coming out of the contingency lines that we have established in each budget, 50/50, and moved over, so there will be no budget increase requested. It'll come right from our contingency lines.
That's kind of what I figured, but I
Yes,
wanted to
sir.
say it out loud. Thank you,
Right.
sir. Any other questions?
Yeah, is this, and I'm just asking, do you use this, like, say, the fair, rodeos?
Yes, sir.
Boys Ranch, things of that?
Any special event that you can't get an ambulance in, we use this. The fair, the rodeos at the Boys Ranch, the rodeos in Branford, parades, Christmas on the Square, because you can't get an ambulance in those streets. So if, let's say, somebody fell, broke their leg, this unit would come in and get them, being it's so tight spaces, and then that way we can bring them out for further treatment. So we use it everywhere. This has a winch on the front. We've had cases to where we've had golf carts with people injured at Spirit of the Suwannee Park on the riverbank. We didn't have anything to pull the golf cart off of them because of the incline. This would solve our problem with that. So we're trying to upgrade the services that we can provide with it.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stapleton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Next, we got Jamie Driggers from DOT and Stephen Browning. They got a quick presentation. He said very quick. You got a check for us?
Gonna give us a fishing report?
I think that was Chuck Phillips. He was going to leave
Hey,
the
look, he's something about a bunch of money and about 15 miles.
Good evening,
of roads
I'm-
they were approving tonight.
Stephen Browning, Florida Department of Transportation. I also have Jamie Driggers as announced. We kind of want to go through the tentative work program. We do this kind of in the spring and the fall, but moving forward, we kind of mixed it up a little bit. In the spring last year, we actually met with staff. We had a good meeting with staff, and we were able to present different projects, hear different concerns you guys have. We're going to kind of mix it up going forward and do that in the future. In the spring, we'll meet with the staff level. In the fall, we'll come back to the county commission to present the tentative work program. But we're always available if we need to come to the county commission meeting and discuss any of our projects. So kind of moving forward, the first handout you have in the blue and white, first two projects are more or less lighting projects on I-10. Again, we're just moving forward with some lighting projects that we're required to do. The third project, really the rest area. We're making some improvements to that rest area on I-10, eastbound rest area on I-10. The next project, I-10 from Madison County line to US 90 is a resurfacing job that's scheduled for 2021. The next projects are a landscaping project for that rest area project. And the last one on this little grouping of the projects is interchange improvements. We're trying to move forward. I know Mr. Harris has been adamant about this and others, that we move forward with interchange improvements at 129. So we have a concept we kind of rolled out in the spring and presented, just add turn lanes, signalize the off-ramps. So this is more or less the design. It's several years out there, and we do hear there's a request to kind of move this in, but unfortunately, currently there's no funding to move it in, but we're doing our best. But luckily, it is funded for design, and in an outer year, I don't have that with me, it's funded for construction. So we are moving forward with making improvements to this interchange. We do see the need, so it's moving. As far as the state highway system, the next group of projects, the signal maintenance agreement's the first one, that's standard. The next one's a resurfacing job on US 90 from Madison County, County Road 49. Following projects, US 27's a sidewalk project. Then we have another US 90 resurfacing project that's scheduled for 2022. Kind of go through the next two. County Road 49, that's a very expensive scrap Scott project. We've got programmed for $7 million in 2024. It's a rather long project, around 9 miles in length. Great project, but it is going to consume a lot of funding in the next few years. Rather expensive project. Again, we have Weedle Street, sorry. That's a tough one. In 2020, and several other drainage projects shown below, 5 drainage projects. One thing I kind of want to point out is 180th Street. It would kind of pull out the other handout. We kind of want to walk you through it, and the goal for this is we really want to seek a resolution for the detour alternative is what we're proposing. So the 180th Street Bridge is up for replacement. So we're in our project development, our PD&E phase now. So we're looking at alternatives, how's the best way to replace this bridge. We're showing about 500 cars on a daily basis use this bridge. So what we're proposing is 2 11-foot lanes. This is an 8-foot shoulder, 8-foot shoulder and no sidewalks. So it would be a little bit wider bridge than what's out there today. It's the typical section as you see on the first sheet. The second sheet shows the proposed detour route, and this is what we need the resolution for. We're kind of asking for. We want to close this bridge. We'll see about 3 to 6 months savings in construction time frame if we close this bridge while we replace it. It was closed a couple years back for some improvements, I believe.
It was closed.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, it was closed before.
It was
Right.
closed for a while.
Yeah.
So we feel confident we can do this again. I mean, the public, I think, was able to survive before. We feel like it's a good option.
The commissioners survived
Okay,
The one
Commissioner,
commissioner-
very narrowly.
The one commissioner who was there did not survive
Yeah.
Oh,
that community at all
It,
okay.
because of the closure.
it got ugly. In fact, you may recall, we had to ask DOT to bring some of those large concrete barriers out there because we put out there, they drug out of the way, drove over, and just continued to travel that bridge. But I don't see where there's really any option.
But this would be
Yep,
closed
closed.
for construction only, correct?
Construction only, yes. While they replace the bridge, it would take probably 18 months to replace it.
There's no chance of getting a temporary bridge up?
I mean, that's something we could look at. I mean, we wanted your opinion. Typically we'd like to move forward with the detour. It's less costly, time savings are there, so it's the best of all options. You can replace it in kind or in
I would like
place.
to see the numbers on it before I took one version or the other, because I tell you what, that was a very unpopular closing, but it was because it was closed for so long, and it didn't seem like anything was being done, and I think that's what the big concern was. So closing it just for construction, someone's out there working, it's going to mitigate some of the
I think
concerns.
as long as it's closed and there's workers
I
there,
said it'll mitigate some of the
it'll, yeah, a lot of that take care of itself. If it's,
The problem before was that,
the problem before
There
was
was
it's
no money in place.
closed and it was just sitting there closed.
I realize.
yeah, waited a long time waiting for
Right.
the money.
You're probably looking around $500,000 in savings if you do close it, just because you don't have to build a bridge to replace a bridge, less
And then-
impacts and all that good stuff, and about that 3 to 6 month savings. If you're not ready to move forward with a resolution, we'll do this. We'll go back to a public meeting, hold a public meeting for this project, engage the public, local residents, and see what we have. Just see what they think. Move forward with that, and then approach you depending on the feedback we receive.
That shortest detour, I'm not familiar with that road, the one in the blue line, 73rd, 81st, and 176. Is that a dirt road?
Say that one more time.
Is it a dirt
I
road?
think it's
The
an
one
unpaved
going
road.
north,
Yeah, the
dirt,
blue
unpaved.
road.
the one going south is all paved, but the one going north is dirt.
They're
That's
gonna take the
correct.
shortest route. It's gonna be the blue line.
The blue line, but I mean, is it just a narrow dirt road like some of our ones that just dividing property lines, or is it a widened dirt road?
The parts of it, I think they have, parts of it has narrowness in it. The biggest issue is what I got when I was out there in the community was keeping the trucks off it. If we had a way to keep the truckers off of it, then it would be a lot better. But I don't know if legally we can do that, so. But it was a safety issue because people were off the side of the road trying to let these people by.
Yes. Sir?
John Koch, 18052 89th Road. The problem with not only the width of the dirt roads in that area is that it crosses the creek in a much more dangerous position with less of a bridge structure if during the reconstruction and the closing, the 18-month period, it should flood again. If you go the longer route, which is paved, that crossing is a heck of a lot higher and can take possibly more water in a storm situation as compared to the last one where it flooded more than we really wanted it to. So I would suggest strongly, living in that area, having to deal with it, I'd rather go a little longer but have some pavement under me than the dirt road situation in the creek, if it rises again, would put you in a more dangerous situation.
I mean-
Thank you.
Both of the options would be there for the individual's choice. I was just curious on the short route, if it was paved road or dirt road.
It's dirt, it's all dirt.
And the paved route, I mean, it's about 6 miles. That is starting to get sort of lengthy. That's kind of our cutoff where we kind of stop.
It says 4.5. Is that the total length on it?
No, that's just what's shown in purple. So really depends on where you are. I mean, if you're coming exactly from the bridge, you'd have to add the .8, the 4.5, and if you're going back to the bridge, it's .8.
Okay, I got you.
Mr. Chairman, but the purple is a paved road?
Correct.
All the way around?
Paved road all the way around.
Yeah, it is paved. Now, there are parts of that road that are, when you get out into, I guess that's 192nd Street where it comes in. It's a rough road. I mean, it's not, the part 81st Road and where it had that 90-degree out to 192nd Street is fairly good road. But when you get on 192nd Street, it's one of those sand mixed roads that was repaved several years back, and it's not a road. And that was where some people were concerned it was breaking up the road with the truckers and the buses having to run back and forth on it too. I had bus drivers calling me up saying, "Hey, can you do anything about this?"
So you're,
All I can.
for the resolution and for the closure, we're looking at construction in 2023. Is that correct on that one, or am I looking at it wrong?
That's correct. Construction in 2023. I mean, we have some time. We're still trying to make
Yeah.
these decisions early and
I
move
mean,
forward with the project.
obviously, that sounds like there's going to be some discussion on the board, but I think for the money savings and that there is a paved route, and as long as it's only during construction and we ain't closing it prior to that, I think eventually we could probably work our way through it.
I would like to see if between now and then, there's any way we can find some more funds somewhere to avoid this, but I'll do my best to work to get that, to find that, help you guys in any way.
There aren't
shape, or
any
form,
funds.
so.
If you look at that sheet on 49, that's
I know.
2020,
Yeah.
what was it, 2024 or 5 or something?
Four.
Finish that.
Let's do this. We'll go to the public, have a public meeting and see what the public says and come back to you at that
I
point.
mean, if y'all want to do that,
I'd love to do that.
okay, then if it's
We're
his.
scheduled first of the year. Can.
We'll do that.
Okay.
The third drawing on this set of exhibits is just kind of a proposal. We'd like to replace it in kind. If you remember, this is kind of a sort of historic bridge. I mean, it does have some stones and that type of stuff. At one point, it was a nice kind of arch structure. There's this one in the 164th Street that are very similar in their looks and their aesthetics. So we were trying to replace that kind of in kind to what's out there today. Instead of using all the existing stones, we'd have this kind of window that you see, kind of the diamond or triangle or square, rectangle, whatever you want to call it, with use some of the existing stone in that location and kind of replicate the 6 barrels that you have today. Just try to put something in the back that kind of matches what's out there today.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Are we bound to do anything because of the historic?
No, we're not bound to do anything, no.
Okay, so if the community says just replace the bridge, we don't really care what it looks like?
Exactly, we'll do that.
Okay. Would we save some money in doing it?
Yeah, I mean, we figured around 5% of total project.
He's wanting to know, will you save $500,000?
No, it's probably around 150,000.
If we could save $500,000, put a temporary bridge up, I'd be happy. But I would like to leave it up to the community. You know.
I mean, it is, end of the day, your bridge, so you let us know what you want, or their bridge, however you see it.
I understand.
The rest of the projects on the, back to the blue and white sheet are more kind of your maintenance agreements and that type of stuff, routine maintenance, lighting. On the back side, you have some of your aviation and more of your public transit projects. Nothing too earth-shattering there, so if you have any questions, just let us know, and then Jamie's going to talk about our work program public meeting coming up.
Hey, I'm doing what you did, the Winter Weedle project, is that one that the city of Live Oak submitted to y'all? Yes, by the, yeah. Thank you.
Each year, the Department of Transportation develops a 5-year transportation plan, which we present for public comment. What you have before you today in the handout reflects the current transportation plan for Suwannee County. You also will note on the second page that we actually reference a website. The reason we're moving to a website is to provide more opportunities for communication of our plan. Unlike years past where we host a rural workshop, this year we will not be doing that. We'll be using a website notice. We will be having a hearing, however, in a major urban area, which will be in Jacksonville. I encourage you to comment. This is also available for public commentary. The comment period will run all the way through the end of December. Second thing I wanted to highlight is we are currently in our solicitation phase for the SCOP, SCRAP, 60, and TRIP programs. I would highly encourage you to continue, as we've had successful relations with Suwannee County, want to continue to move forward there. That solicitation cycle will carry through mid-January. With that, that's really the 2 updates that I wanted to provide today. Just parallel Stephen. If there are any questions or specific concerns, we're definitely here to address them, or if we need to come back later, we'll also do that.
Chairman, I
Yes,
have
sir.
one question.
Yes, I did.
On the appropriations, y'all know more about state appropriations than I do, so how much, are we seeing a reduction in fiscally restrained counties, appropriations fiscally restrained counties, or is it across the board cuts? Or are they cut at all? Because it seems like we've lost a lot of roads over the last few years.
From year to year, we host what we call a revenue estimating conference, which ultimately is an impact to all agencies. And it's based on, dock stamps, gas tax revenues, and the like. So historically, I'd say in the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen kind of a balance, no growth. The last year or so, I have seen a reduction. I know I've talked with Mr. Harris. In years past, 8, 10 years ago, these programs were substantial. One thing I would encourage through our partnership is take on that conversation and look at the programs that we have and encourage that conversation with the legislator of actually enhancing these programs and expanding them more so. So to answer your question is, it hadn't gotten substantially worse, it hadn't got substantially better. We're kind of hitting a flat spot. The one challenge we have from the financial basis is that we program a project often 3-4 years in advance of construction. So any impact regarding petroleum cost, which ultimately reflects the impact to an asphalt cost, those are not accounted for. So I think things as simple as that nature would definitely help our agencies. And we love to give the money away. We're limited on the resources. We have 18 counties that we have to support, and it only goes so far. So.
Well, I did learn something from our administrator's comments over at the summit the other day, and that is when you have level amounts of money every year, that means you spend less and less, or you get less and less for that money. So,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I spoke to Mr. Driggers earlier, and what I like to do is obtain the history of funding the state has provided, and if the board would agree, I'll go to Tallahassee and we'll get our message out and try to get an increase in the funding, because the small counties take a beating. For instance, we've got lots of farming here. Well, we're trying to feed everyone. We don't have the revenues coming in that the urban areas do. They're generating more because they've got houses and more people. So we need this type of assistance, and if it isn't increasing over time, then inflation just gobbles it up. So if the board will agree.
Yeah, I think we should definitely add that to our legislative priority list this year.
Yeah.
And reach out to our surrounding
Walk the hall.
counties and ask them to join us in it.
give it Chris Dewar.
Yeah, I thought about the Small County Coalition
Yeah.
and others to join in with us, and I'm sure they will.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Driggers and other gentlemen there, I was over in Lake City this morning to that traffic safety meeting, and had the opportunity to talk with his name, Troy. Troy was over there as well, and he mentioned some of the things that y'all were talking about, from 49 to the Madison County line, the paving and the lighting project, 137, and out on Highway 90. He also mentioned about the railroad crossing, downtown Live Oak. It's going to be shut down for 2 weeks. He mentioned that project was going to take place, and I think that with Mr. Harris and some of the city officials, we need to try to figure out a way to get the people around the city of Live Oak when that time happened. He made the statement that the trains would have to ride on it a certain amount of times in order for the traffic to go over. I don't know whether y'all familiar with what I'm talking about. But Troy was over this at that traffic safety meeting. He did give out that information. So I don't know, whether y'all familiar with it. But I just want to also bring that out about the train track being replaced at 129.
Steve and I can go back. We actually have a rail office within the Department of Transportation, and we can have them follow up with you and look at opportunities.
Because it says it's going to be devastating down there, trying to route the traffic, and I know it's going to be congested, trying to get people back and forth across that track.
Especially the amount of trucks going back and forth.
Y'all have any other questions?
No question, just want to say thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate Mr. Evans and what you guys are trying to accomplish with the 129 I-10 exit ramp out there. That's priority. I appreciate you guys moving along with that. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Mr. I think Mr. Harris had one question for you. You ain't getting off that easy. Step back up there.
I have 25 questions, but I'll try to narrow it down to one. I struggle with this issue of the Safe Routes to Schools program for sidewalks. Even when we had that discussion last week, everyone that has any part of that admitted that's just a very, very difficult process. And it shouldn't be that difficult. In my mind, it should be the easiest process if we're trying to accomplish greater safety for the children. But on this specifically, on the state highways, you've got sidewalks on here, about third item down. And I'm curious about these sidewalks. Are those sidewalks associated with that Safe Routes to School, or is that just some other program that y'all have for sidewalks? Can you tell from looking at this?
Well, I can say this. Typically, the Safe Routes to School program, as far as the description of the work, it has to reference a school system. That's one of the requirements or obligations that we have as far as transparency to the public. So instinctively, as I look at this, I'm thinking it's probably a transportation alternative program project, not a Safe Routes.
Okay, so if we were to pursue a transportation alternatives program, I'm going to assume that's much easier than the Safe Routes to School.
As far as application process, yes, and we manage that program within the district. Safe Routes to School program is a little more of a challenge because there's a statewide allocation of about $9 million. And so the applications are vetted through the district, which also the decision of what projects to fund goes to Tallahassee or our central office.
Okay, well, I've got a candidate project where we'll probably turn it in. So my next question would be, if we know of a location, I think most of the commissioners probably do, south of town on 129, where we have a school farther down there, another mile down the road from where the sidewalk ends. And, I mean, it's just a nightmare to go through that other plan, that program. If we were to submit as a candidate project, transportation alternatives project, would that count against what we had been historically getting as a project, or against the numbers of projects we're turning?
Separate program with a separate fund allocation. Luckily, Mr. Stephen Brown's office is over the transportation alternatives program.
Good.
And I do know I have a reference point of contact, Mr. Jeff Scott, is over the Safe Routes to School program, so he's also ready to set up a conversation. And we do have programs in place with, especially with rural agencies, where we have augmented consult support that comes in and helps assess the needs and even carries through and supports the application process to make it a little more, because we've learned, I mean, we strive to capture every dollar just like the agencies do within the district. So we want to be competitive, so we put every effort we can into making sure we capture those dollars. So far, I'm aware of only 2 or 3 projects in our district since the program came to existence 3 years ago. 2 or 3 that we've actually got funded here, so we would definitely be a supporting component of the job you're doing so support.
Good, that's helpful. All right, I appreciate it.
So just to follow, so you guys are taking, we could put an application for that, because I know there were some of the things they said are tapped out, and they're not accepting applications, but there's still funds there for that, and we could,
$9 million a year for the St. Charles School program. And it's a statewide competitive basis, so we'll be competing with Miami all the way up to Tallahassee.
okay.
What about the transportation alternative program? It sounded like he was talking about something that was easier than Safe Routes to School.
It's easier in the sense that we self-manage that allocation, we're given a set dollar figure, and then Stephen's office, through solicitation process, ranks, prioritizes the amount of funding that we have. Similar to the stop and scrap and CP and trip, you don't have so much to go around, so you have to balance that resource.
And those applications are due January 25th. You should have received an email. Sorry, I was going to do what I forgot. Thank you for
We can
reminding
make that happen, that's not a problem. We'll get that to you.
Anything else?
I do appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. I know y'all had a busy day. I tried to get y'all in here as soon as you could so we could get y'all out and y'all get home. Thank
Have
you.
a happy Thanksgiving, too.
About their 3rd or 4th stop today.
I'm sure.
Commissioners, if I can mention, I know the DOT representatives, they had spoke about the 129 and I-10 interchange. We did have another wreck there today, which is becoming a regular basis.
Yeah.
So we know that the lighting project would work for the simple fact that Winder Weedle was the same. I know it's not interchange with Interstate, but Winder Weedle, we were having accidents on a regular basis prior to its reconstruction. So the lighting and things there at the 129 and I-10 corridor will be a great service for the community. So.
Thanks, sir. All right, we're going to move on to our time specific. At 6:05 PM or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold a public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution approving special permit for temporary use requests number SPTU 181101 by American Promotional Events, DBA TNT Fireworks, to be granted a special permit for temporary use under Section 1410 Suwannee County Land Development Regulations for firework tent sale.
I got you.
This time, anybody wishing to present or testify, if they would stand, let the attorney swear you in.
If you anticipate you may have something to say, please stand. Otherwise, just staff. You swear or affirm the testimony you give before the board this evening will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ronald Meeks, work address 224 Pine Avenue, Live Oak, Florida. Mr. Chairman, board members, the application you have before you tonight is a special permit for temporary use. It is for the placement of a fireworks tent sale. The date of the event is from December the 26th, 2018 through January the 2nd of 2019. I believe this is the fourth time that this individual company has been responsible for the fireworks tent sale located out there in the Walmart parking lot area. They typically set up for the 4th of July and New Year's, and they've supplied, copies in the application of the state permits. They also have a local permit with our fire marshal's office, and Mr. Tim White does go out and do an inspection prior to them opening up when they complete the setup of the tent. We've never had any complaints against this company. They seem to clean up after themselves and leave the site in a clean condition when they leave. You have, as part of the request, a resolution for approval, if you so choose to approve the temporary use permit. In the application, the applicant had, on the signature page, either carried over a date from a previous application or just forgot what year they were in, but it's dated in 2017. So we did contact them and had the applicants resubmit their signature and agent authorizations with the 2018 date that would be accompanied with the file. At this time, I don't have anything else to say. If you have any questions of me, I'll answer it. If not, I'll enter the file into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. We'll take the file, including the additional attachment to the application, in as composite exhibit number 1.
Board members, you have any questions for Mr. Meeks?
No.
None. Hearing none. At this time, we'll open the floor to public comment. Anybody wishing to speak, make their way to the podium. Name and address for the record. If you weren't sworn in, please be sworn in. Hearing none. At this time, we'll close public comment. What's the wishes of the board?
Motion approved, Chairman.
Motion to adopt the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. At this time, we'll close public hearing.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Next, staff reports. Greg Scott, Parks and Rec, Airport Manager.
Good evening. Barry gave me instructions to be brief, so thank you very much. Guess he's got to get his turkey ready. A few things real quick. Got finished with the registration for youth basketball. We've got 70 kids participating in that program. We're under the way of registering for soccer now. We expect to have 300 plus in that program. We are getting proposals for the playground at the Douglas Center, that grant. We're continuing to work on the trail project through DOT and getting close to getting that project started. We also have asked and received a request from the arena grant for the Coliseum to do an extension there. If we started it today, we wouldn't be able to get done before the fair, so we want to wait till after the fair before we start that project. Christmas on the Square is coming up next week. We'll be working with Fire Rescue and the Chamber to bring Thursday night activities together. We'll be hosting a movie night that our folks will be putting on. And so make sure you go on the website and vote for what movie you want. I know you'd all vote for Grinch, but you can't be the limelight or anything, so we'll let the community vote on that. That's supposed to be funny. Come on, guys. We are going to ask next meeting for a request to go out to bid for the Jet A project at the airport. And that's for the biggest thing we've been working on for a long time, and hopefully we'll get that bid out and started in early spring, if not before that. That's all I've got, unless you got any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Scott?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Or several of the airport. I know at one time you needed more space for hangars and things like that. Do you have any availability now? Are they all still?
We have got down to about 5 on the waiting list now, I believe. We had some turnover recently, but
Okay.
we still want to, we have new hangars on the horizon through DOT, fully funded for box hangars and also T hangars coming after that.
Okay.
But folks would like to come and stay here, so we'd like to take their money.
Attorney said he was getting out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I just got one question, or just maybe for you to fill the board in. I got I saw, I think it was a magazine article on
Right.
Suwannee Parks and Rec. I don't know if any of y'all saw it, but
Yeah, we,
briefly fill them in on what it was or what it was about.
yeah, we were asked to submit some information to our state association's magazine highlighting the Live Oak Suwannee County Recreation Board, the technical name for our department, and had a nice article about that. I think we mailed everybody a copy of that. But anytime you get that kind of press for free on what we do and such, we're very proud of that. So hats off to our staff for putting that together and submitting it, then they tweaked it, and it was a real nice article.
It was a good article. I got it a while back and meant to bring it in, and I misplaced it. So
Right.
figured I'd ask you about it since I had you up there tonight.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you all very much.
Thanks, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, moving on to general business. Item 22, set date, time, and location for economic director interviews. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we had requested that Commissioners go ahead and forward names to our office so that we could compile them. You actually have 4 names on a list: Teresa Campo, Jimmy Norris, Lacey Eckberg, and Mark Yarick. So I would ask that the board decide how many or all of these that you want to interview. Y'all make the decision, and then we can attempt to schedule with them. I've got all of the open dates for the next couple of months on a calendar here. If you have a preferred date, we can try to work around that. I would think it could take a couple of weeks to get everyone scheduled, depending on, well, it just depends on the number of applicants you want to interview. You have 4 names here.
Well, I'm good with interviewing the 4 names, and I can make pretty much any date that we can set work for me, if whatever y'all, I can work around y'all's schedule.
If, you know, I'm comfortable with the 4 names that you got, that we got. I would like to listen to all 4 of them, and whatever date the board set, I can work with that also.
You're looking at December, or are you looking at January?
I'm looking at December right now.
Okay. As long as it's not the 24th or 25th.
I promise you it won't be.
I'm pretty flexible as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if something I'm forgetting comes up, I'll just have to let you guys know, but I'm pretty open.
What is that? Let's pull my calendar up real quick.
Okay. try to do it during the weekdays. We'll do our best to arrange it during weekdays, and we'll let you know how that works out. We'll go ahead and make contact with each of them and see how quickly we can arrange to have this schedule.
That, the off week for us in December, say the 10th through the 14th, was that open, any of those dates open with the calendar?
The only thing you have on that week is, you got a planning council meeting at 7 PM on the 13th. Someone does, whoever is attending that. But that's in the evening. I mean, when we did these before, we had it earlier in the
I
day.
think
So
my
that
plan
week
on the
otherwise
interviews
is
was
open.
start the interviews around 9, set 30 minutes for each one,
Yeah,
and move
you
right
have
on.
4, so, yeah, we should be finished by noon.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What, were you talking about, what day?
I was looking maybe that week somewhere between the 10th and the 14th.
Yeah, that week is otherwise wide open.
I have a meeting on Thursday, but it's not till 6 in the evening, so.
If we set it
You'll be good then.
9 o'clock,
Yeah.
I would think that if we scheduled the interviews about 30 minutes apart for each one of them, that would take us till about between 11 and 12 being done. That would work for me if it works for y'all one of those days.
Okay.
I'm good.
That works. If you'll pick one of those days and we can make it work.
Okay.
All right, so everybody's good with the 4 names on the list, moving forward with those for the interviews?
Nancy Pelosi withdrew her name. We didn't figure we could schedule her anyway. She's busy right now.
Bite my tongue. All right, moving on to item 23. Discuss creating a list for chip seal roads. Mr. Harris?
Chip seal roads, Commissioners, if you would just forward some roads that you think are good candidate roads, and I have some at the office we've looked at already, and try to get those to me in the next week or so, and we'll come back with a list. That'll give us an opportunity to, well, what we'll do is if you'll get us your roads, we'll go out and measure them, try to come up with an idea what the estimate will be on cost, and then the board can wrestle with how to prioritize those projects. So if you have candidate projects. And we've been trying our best to, some of the criteria, the important criteria for us is trying to find roads that require lots of maintenance. Trying to get rid of some of those that we're out there grading all the time if we can, to cut down on that, free those grader operators up to take care of other roads. But in any event.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I know all of the commissioners have a lot on your plate, but I could make it easy, could just do all of them in District 4 this year.
I got a better idea. Last.
I got an even better one than that.
I'm going to be the last one again. That's not. Okay.
Well, I hate to break it to you, bud, but District 4 got like all the money
I
last
was
year.
gonna say, and projects first. Yeah.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
Me and Commissioner Richardson are no longer the rookies.
Right. We're 10th graders now.
Right.
All right, if y'all would try to put that list together so we can hopefully look over it at the next board meeting. Try to set some priorities. Real quick, Ms. Harris, to go back to item 22. I know we set the date and time, but real quick so the board knows the interview process. We're going to do it the same way we did the last interview, where each board member is going to come up with 2 questions. And we're going to set a kind of a grading scale.
Yeah, we can put that, we can go back and try to find what we did before and utilize the same thing if you wish.
That's how I'd like to do it. What we did before was each one asked 2 questions. We had each candidate lined down, and I can't remember the amount of points we gave per question. It might have been up to 5 points or 10.
10 points.
10 points. And at the end of the interviews, each individual interview, we passed it to the clerk for total, and then that's how we wound up ranking them at the end, was the highest percentage was ranked number 1, and so on. And then we started negotiation with number 1, or down to number 2, which we finally settled on number 2.
Mr. Chairman, did y'all have your questions pre-printed, or was it?
Each commissioner came in with 2 questions, so we
Just making sure so we don't ask that someone had the same question or on those lines.
No, I don't think there was any coordination last time, but, I mean, nobody had the same questions.
Okay.
And there was nothing that they couldn't detour off of them during the meeting. It was just pretty much you got to ask 2 questions.
Gotcha.
And the only reason, I mean, if you need follow-up or to move on, go into deeper detail, it was just to try to keep it concise and get through the process so you didn't get bogged down
Okay.
all day long with it. All right. Moving on to item 24, discuss possible board action, CSX fees. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we actually received a letter this time. You know, last time that CSX tried to, actually, we had received notification from CSX a few years ago. They sent us an invoice and said, we worked on some of the crossings in the county, and we want you to pay for the work that we did. And it was quite excessive, best I can remember. I think it was a little over $100,000.
It was over 100, I remember that.
129, somewhere from there, 24, 29.
Yeah, whatever it was. But in any event, I called and argued with them and told them we don't operate that way, that you don't go out and do work and then send us a bill and not even include us in the conversation or even comment to us ahead of time. So we never paid it and still haven't paid it. In any event, I think they've decided that they're going to send letters out to all the counties now telling us that they're expecting us to pay going forward, and then we need to start budgeting for it. They'll help us figure out how to budget for it. Well, I'm kind of curious myself as to how many counties are actually going to agree to do this. So I just wanted you to be aware, and if you'd like to authorize me to argue with them a little bit, I'd be just fine with that. If you want to just agree, we can type up a letter and say that we'll agree to pay whatever they want to charge us. But they have been very general about their, in their communication with us, other than tell us they want us to pay going forward.
Anybody in support of the letter saying we'll pay whatever?
I support the letter, Mr. Chairman, I support the letter, that's why I brought it out. About what the gentleman said this morning about CSX. We're gonna shut that 129 down, it's gonna be down for about 2 weeks. So if they shut it down for about 2 weeks, that's gonna be a lot of money they're gonna be imposing on them.
Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with you arguing, advocating on behalf of Suwannee County that we're not going to pay it, or that we are in we have some say in it before we're just given a number. We just got done putting a rail in and doing a lot of work within their right-of-way. Y'all know what the costs can add up to in a hurry, so we have to have a say in that.
I'll make our pitch, and I'll let you know how that goes.
Thanks, sir. All right, moving on to item 25, discuss possible board action. It says contract with Vance Baker, but I don't believe this is a contract. This is setting up a security IT board. Am I correct, Mr. Attorney?
That'd be the first step.
The first step, correct. All right. Y'all remember a while back we had a joint workshop with the school board discussing the IT department, the IT oversight, and moving forward with creating an IT board. This is the first step of that. And in your packet, you should have had the guidelines and the plans for moving forward. And we'll just open up the floor to any questions you have for me or the attorney.
I just think more so for public knowledge, just can you explain how the board will be picked and
Yeah, let me get to it. do you mind giving a rundown of what it's over?
No, sir. Generally speaking, what we're looking at is we've had discussions between various agencies, and to be able to have a chief information security officer. And what we're trying to do is come up with a mechanism where everybody will participate in the process so that we'll all be on the same page moving forward with our security measures as well as just regular IT stuff. For the general idea was if everybody's going to be participating, everybody needs to have a representative. And so what we came up with is a proposal that there's 4 agencies that would be involved, but since we'll be handling administration of everything under the proposal as it is, there would actually be 5 board members. So there would be 2 board member representatives from the Board of County Commissioners. 1 would be appointed and 1 would be the chairman. And then each of the other individual entities, the sheriff's office, clerk's office, and the property appraiser's office would have a representative on the board. Now, the idea is that trying to move forward so that we have so much interaction between the departments and the clerk and the sheriff as additional constitutional officers and the property appraiser, and we're all coming with new technologies right now, that we would like to be on the same plan moving forward with our security for all of that new, and I'm not good at the hardware and software stuff, but everybody be on the same page, and therefore we would have one guy, one entity that would oversee all of that. To actually get down to the nuts and bolts on that, we would have to enter an interlocal agreement among all 4 agencies to create this position. But then you see what I've outlined in here is a very general outline of what a chief information security officer ought to do, as I think it, or have been informed so far by various parties and trying to get information from everybody, what they ought to be doing at this position. And then in the interlocal agreement among the 4 agencies, there would be a mechanism where everybody would share costs to pay for the individual or entity to have that position. In the interlocal agreement that I just put in, in the packet, was just a broad, all right, there's 4 entities, so you split it 4 ways. I don't know how everybody has been talking about budget-wise on that, but just so that you see that, I put that in there because
Well, I think
it seemed
mine-
easy to me.
Well, in our conversations that we had, I know this year we didn't budget it we did budget it with the floor waste split, but that was when the school board was still going to be an active member. But the floor waste split, I think moving forward into the next budget year, if we approve it, is something that we need to do where all 4 departments that are participating are contributing. But this year, we did not include that. We included it in the sheriff's budget and the clerk's budget, but we did not include it into the property appraiser's budget. So I don't know how the board wants to address that if they approve it.
And what effectively then what will happen is instead of having to come before the board or having a separate department that would be, IT security, and it wouldn't exactly fall under an IT department, we would be creating, this board, and this board then, the 5-member board then would report to each of the agencies about how they were going. So it would be the board's responsibility then to come back to either our board or to, communicate with the clerk and the sheriff and the property appraiser on those items. So it's very general. The more input I have, the easier it is for me to put something, in. But this is just an opening volley at what has generally been discussed.
Mr. Chairman, just one question.
Yes, sir.
Lord knows, God knows, I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I think it's just taxpayers' money and taxpayers' money and taxpayers' money. So I am curious about the sheriff cost and the sheriff responsibilities as well. Are there, of these four agencies, some agencies that have less, they're going to have less IT work to be done in this, with this, so in other words, it's $50,000 across the board, each one paying. Is that fair to each agency? Or is it overly generous to some and a little bit high for others, based on their size or budgets?
Well, when we budgeted during the budget workshops, we didn't ask each the individual department to itemize their expenses.
Okay.
We looked at it generally across the board and said, we think this is going to be our overall cost, and we split it 3 ways. And then the school board at the time, when we thought it was going to be with the school board, they had the quarter share of it. You know, one department may have more cost over the other, but the way I envisioned it and the way I talked to Mr. Baker and Mr. Pravat about was that it's basically a pass-through through those departments. I mean, if one's only using $25,000 and you want to put $25,000 in his other budget and another one's using $75,000, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference because I want finance to create a separate line in the budget that shows for the IT budget so that it's going to go just pass through each one of them's budget to wind up in that line.
I understand that now. Thank you.
Any other questions? Or
Other than the one you asked, we didn't budget for it, so what are we gonna?
I really and truly, I think this year, we still got a ways to go to get to where we're actually going to be spending money. I think with what's budgeted, will probably be
Good enough.
good enough.
Yeah.
And then going into it next year, we'll know exactly where we need to be on it.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Baker, I know you had a lot of questions. Did you have anything that we missed or that you wanted to add to it?
As far as Mr. Baker, is where he's been doing the work for us in the school already. I can't tell you how valuable the services that we receive from him are. I talked to another clerk that had a situation where their stuff, their information was, it's where there were some issues with their information within their offices and stuff, and it was just a nightmare. And it's where the Vance Baker has been very diligent in working with all the different agencies and bringing us together. And I think that there's that we also stand to have a cost savings by our resources being pooled, both in equipment, both in looking at our communications. I've talked with Randy about it as well, and Ricky, and I think that there can be some cost savings there as well. So it's where there is a definite need. Our IT staff is where we do a great job. It's not going to change the work that they are doing, because it's the work that they do on a daily basis is still going to be there. It's just simply taking it, and it's the security side of the IT.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to say very little about this, but I want to share something. Not too many years ago, we didn't have the security systems in place that we have today, and my computer at the office got wiped out. I mean, it cleaned out all of my files. Whatever got in there, took it out. We could never get it back, and we tried. And I'm sure that others lost information as well. And I'm dealing in hundreds of contracts and correspondence all the time with state agencies and everyone, and I can't afford to lose that information. So it's important to me to have something in place, someone monitoring what's going on and trying to ensure that we're not losing this stuff again. My view of this is the same view I have toward insurance. You know, if I know that someone's monitoring these systems that we have on a regular basis and trying to ensure that we don't get attacked and lose the information that we have, that's important. I don't like paying for insurance. We pay a pile of money for insurance on buildings and everything else. But we're paying for the availability of something if we need it. In the case of this security, you've got this constant monitoring that's ongoing, and it helps us conduct the business that we're in without as much threat or exposure to losing the information that's really important to us. And when I lost data, I'm telling you, I lost information that had taken me 2 or 3 years to compile on lots of different issues, and we never were able to retrieve it. So it's really important that we have something in place to try to ensure that we're not losing the information that's really critical to us.
Any other questions? Any questions from this side?
I just would say I think it's important that we have this, this work together, this kind of communal way of handling this issue. Obviously, it's easy to have your own stuff, but it's better to, for one centralized, have one centralized security system to protect our data resources. So,
No, I agree. That's what we've worked hard on this for past 6 months, but or longer.
it's a shame that the school board didn't want to take part in it.
Well, they do, but we run into some legal issues on, well,
Potential sharing
Yeah,
of personal information.
it just, I couldn't come up with a way to get Jimmy to feel comfortable with it. I'm gonna put it off on you.
Both lawyers.
Both
for the
lawyers.
School board and for, and myself.
And we had a long meeting with the superintendent, with their attorney, and several of their staff members, myself, Mr. Pravat, and everybody's on the same page and wanted to move forward with it. They're still retaining the services of Mr. Baker. We just, nobody could become comfortable with the way that everything was going to have to be shared. Basically, the way the interlocal agreement between the school board and us was going to read that we were going to be the primary employer of the individual, and that they were basically going to subcontract him, which means we were going to be held with any liability that came from them if they had issues, and we just didn't. Wasn't worth it. That's
Maybe in the future.
pretty accurate, isn't it?
That's right.
But-
Maybe in the future we could work that out, figure out a way to work it out.
But I mean, nevertheless, he's still providing the services for the school board and for Suwannee County, and we still have agreements with them for data backup, and them data backup with us, I believe, is correct in it. So it's still going to be the end goal. It's just not, we're not going to be, they won't have a seat on the board that we created. That's why we had to add a 5th board member, so that we'd have 5 on there.
What do you need from us?
Well, basically what we're asking is I have forwarded the information already to the sheriff, to the property appraiser, and to Mr. Baker, the clerk, about what I could come up with from the conversations that I gleaned. I'd like to see, if you're going to move forward with this, to review it and see, y'all may have some other expertise, to have somebody you can talk to be able to get under what, the information security officer position may be. Or, like we're talking about here, have an opportunity to be able to look and say, okay, what are the uses, or percentage of uses, to be able to come up with, how we're to be able to split the costs in there. If you're not comfortable with a committee system, is what I propose, have a committee like that to, to come up with something else. And we're just trying to get some guidance because we've been working, just mainly the 2 of us, with the other entities. So we wanted to get some input from y'all, whether you felt that was a good way to go. Should we try to do something else? Should we look at, a company and an individual? And while I'm right there for the moment, I understand from the sheriff's perspective, and I'll speak about that later, that there's some problems with the LASSO system, having somebody that is a non-employee of the county being able to, work in the sheriff's system there. So if you look at that, you may be narrowed to looking to an individual to do this rather than hiring a full company, entity to be able to do that. So, but again, that's what I wanted to get input from y'all on. I've received a little input from Mr. Baker. I haven't heard anything from Mr. Lamar yet. And the sheriff and I have had a few.
Whatever we decided.
Pardon me?
I said I spoke with the
Oh.
mayor's office, and they didn't have a problem with what we had submitted them.
Right. And then you had some info, a little bit from the sheriff, but again, having it out there, get y'all's input, and then what I do receive back from them, we can try to put something together again. I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight, but, we're taking this first step forward to, get it done quickly if we can.
Could it be something that we set up the committee to do all of this work with you from the county's perspective and bring it back to the board from a committee standpoint to what we should do, how we should move forward?
Well, I mean, if you're going to, have the committee, then you would look at the terms for the interlocal agreement and get the committee together, let the committee set the job responsibilities, let the committee, do that. I mean, if you're wanting to do that, committee process. As for the, the cost-sharing plan that we have in here, once you get into committee, then maybe, we can take that part out and then come back with an addendum, to the interlocal agreement to be able to, handle those kind of costs in there. I was just trying to throw everything in there that I thought would be issues so that everybody could look at it. We can separate them out,
Well, I'd like to move forward with creating the committee and have the committee go ahead and meet and start working on the job description and everything else that they can send back for recommendations for the board or working with yourself to get everything done.
I'd agree with that.
Okay, we wouldn't be officially approving the interlocal agreement then, but, it'd just be, a consensus from y'all, to do this, so that if each of them then agree, we will officially form the committee under the interlocal agreement, and then we can let the details flow from the committee back to the, the board.
So we would bring it back at another board meeting?
Yes, sir.
For final approval?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm good with setting up, or at least presenting it, see if we can, moving forward with it.
I'm good with that. Mr. Fleming? You're good with it? Mr. Hale?
I'm good with that.
Mr. Stapleton? All right, so we got a consensus of the board to move forward with the committee. Do we need to, what's our next step?
The next step, well, there, two other three are here. We're for it, okay. Okay, and so, we'd ask y'all, each to, make that approval back here. And if we do, look at this interlocal agreement that you have here and take out the sections, on costs or something like that. And then we could just have a narrow agreement that would be just to form the committee and then have the funding or costs, as a separate addendum to the agreement, moving forward. Okey-doke?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question to that
Yes, sir.
effect.
Yes,
I know
sir.
it was talking about the $50,000, but when we met, had the interlocal agreement over at the school board office, we was talking about $50,000 each.
Right.
How would that, okay, if four of us would have been paying that amount, now we have the three still gonna be the same amount, dollar amount, or will that change?
Got four.
Well, there's, originally, we had the three, and it was gonna be 50,000 apiece. And like I say, I believe that would have covered the cost for this year. I'm not sure about next year, so it's liable to change.
Okay.
But I guess that's what the committee can look at, and each department can give their estimated cost on what it thinks it's gonna be. and can submit that back to us. All right, so that was them looking at it and hashing out anything they have and bringing it back to you.
If you would, please, sir.
Then from there,
Then from there, we'll come back at another meeting to approve the interlocal agreement itself.
okay,
How it's pared down. And then when everybody signs, the committee is formed, you'll appoint somebody to the committee. You'll also serve under my proposal as chairman. And then, then that committee itself will deal with more of the minutia about the duties and responsibilities and, and the costs or funding aspects of it.
have y'all reviewed it to a point that y'all are comfortable with, Mr. Baker or Mr. Sheriff? I'm just putting you on the spot, that's all.
What my plans are, is Sean is my technical person, and
Right.
he grasps a lot, a lot quicker than I do. And he's not here tonight, but, my plans is to have him go over it with a fine tooth comb, look at it and just see if there are any holes in it. And then, just what Matt was saying is get back with y'all about, okay, we agree with this, this, and this, but we've got to change this. So just, give us some more time to get Sean to go with fine tooth comb. And I know that David with IT with the clerk's office is familiar with it. And so we'll just kind of get our heads together and get a plan going that we all can work with.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the parts that I've looked over is where that I'm fine. I had talked with Jimmy on this. It's where that I have not discussed it with David. It's where that the parts that I have seen are fine with us. As far as it's where it says that there is one representative from each one of the different groups. But then the commission, you're saying, will have 2 members on it?
That's just a proposal I threw out there so we'd have an odd number so that it wouldn't come up as something being a 2-2 and no action.
Okay. Is it such that that person could take and be like a veto breaker or something like that?
As a suggestion, the chairman, would be a non-voting entity except to break ties.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It'd be one of the things to send back to me. I mean,
If I could, I think I'd like to sit down with David and the staff. And then, is that all right with you, David?
no, we want your signature tonight.
But
Well, I was putting you on the spot.
I do appreciate the way that y'all have worked along beside each of us on this. It's where it is extremely important, and I'd like for us to move on with this, in a pretty fast manner, because it's just something that is really needed. If we could get it moving, that would be great. All right, I'll get with David. And the staff,
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
it's all right. I'll just any changes that we have, I'll just send directly to you, and you can.
All right. Thank everyone for working on that. Moving on to item, one more quick thing I got wrote down on this. On the, in case that the board, that committee needs legal advice, you will be the acting counsel for that board, correct?
If y'all so assign me.
That was the only other question I had regarding it, but that was just a thought I had. All right, item 26, discuss possible board action, any possible issues associated with the wastewater or the water plant at I-75.
I don't have anything to report right now, Mr. Chairman.
Good. All right, item 27, discuss with possible board action, 83rd Road, Shane Tepper. I received a phone call from Mr. Tepper, I believe it was yesterday, that decided that due to the outstanding work from Mr. Harris and Mr. Richardson, that he no longer needed to come argue about his road, so that has been pulled.
Did he use that verbiage?
I'm not using his verbiage. I called and told you that he wasn't coming.
In a tie, too.
Let's see. This is PG-13. I can't tell you what he really said about you. Moving on to public comments and concerns. I did have two individuals come to me that said they would like to speak tonight. We'll first start with Mr. John Little. I believe he had somebody he wanted to introduce with him tonight.
Everyone knows that Suwannee, well, first of all, John Little, I live here at 8192 106th Place in Live Oak, and I am the Director of Communications for Suwannee Valley Electric Cooperative. And as a locally based organization based right here in Suwannee County, we feel at SVEC that we have a responsibility to be involved in the community. And hopefully, you'll notice our commitment to that responsibility by some of the things that we've done in the community. Another thing that kind of indicates our commitment to community involvement, we have established a new position at the co-op, and it is one of community relations and communications specialist. And so I'd like to introduce Ms. Christy Tuckey, who is in that position. She was promoted to that position from our member services department. She has great people skills, and I just wanted to introduce her tonight because I'm sure you'll be seeing her around town, around the county, and at various events that we attend. So if you do see her, say hello. We appreciate that. So I'm excited to have her help. So we really want to be doing more in the community than we already are, and so she's going to be helping us do that. As a local organization, a corporate citizen of the county, we also understand our responsibility to help keep the county rolling. We benefit from the services of the county, the infrastructure of the county, and all the amenities. So tonight, I'd just like to present to the board and the county our property tax check. So we do have a check for you, Mr. Gamble, in the amount of $792,529.56. So we appreciate being a part of this community, and we know that you'll put this to good use. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations on your promotion. All right, the other individual was Jimmy Norris with the Chamber. I noticed he walked off with it. I thought he was going to bring it to me.
He's not leaving with it.
Jimmy Norris, 18152 136th Street, Second Director, Suwannee County Chamber of Commerce. Just real quick, wanted to remind you guys, Mr. Harris brought up, a good 3-4 months ago, we were looking for volunteers, and I think he kind of called all you guys out. I'm not sure you have my number because I haven't heard from anyone. The only one I heard from was Mr. Sessions, and he left. So
He has time now.
yeah, he does have time, but he actually did volunteer. But we are still looking for volunteers, and obviously it's open to everyone in the community. This year, with all the things we're doing, we're trying to get 100 volunteers. We're not quite there yet, but we have made a lot of strides. And one of the things I just want to point out tonight was we couldn't do the event without basically you guys being on board. So we do have you guys, Suwannee County Board of Commissioners, as one of our official sponsors. And I really want to point out Jamie back here, Greg Scott, Sheriff, and of course Suwannee Valley Electric's here too. But those guys are a integral piece of making this event go off. I know, Jamie's working was trying to light all these streets up downtown in the city. There's a lot of dark streets. We've been working on that for 6 months or longer. I mean, pretty much all year. We've been downtown testing lights, trying to make that happen. So he's there helping us, Greg with the parks, all of the fencing requirements and trying to be sure that's going to work. And of course, these guys, we've kind of, partnered with them and made them the official sponsor of the Thursday night event. And that is because we are in the parks downtown. And it starts in the parks and it's going to end in the parks. And they're going to be sponsoring the fun run that night. We're calling that a little over a 5K because the route is like an extended 5K. It's about a half a mile longer than a typical 5K would be. And as was mentioned earlier, when we get back with that run, the route's going to be very, very simple. We will leave Millennium Park on 90. We will run up to 129. We will hang a left headed north. We're going to run straight down 129 with all of those wonderful new lights that are put up so that all the runners can see and the roads are nice. And thank you, Mr. Fleming, for that. And when we get out to Lowe's, we're going to 72nd Trace will be the bypass, and so we will turn them right there before the bypass as the traffic will go left and right, and we'll bring them right back down to town. When we get back to the park, we will have a movie, and again, as Greg said, please tell your kids or your family or your grandkids to go online and vote, because we have a couple more days left on the voting. The movie choices are The Elf, The Grinch, Home Alone, The Polar Express, and The Santa Claus. And so hopefully the weather cooperates. There'll be River Oak is bringing cookies and hot chocolate, and Jamie's helping us with that too. And I told you they do a lot. And so it's going to be a great night. It's all free to the kids and the whole family. So we just wanted to kind of, the whole rest of the weekend will be there. The festival will be downtown. And I wanted to also thank Barry and a bunch of his staff because they're really working with us on trying to make this as painless as possible for the folks that are going to be paying their taxes on the last day right before they're due and going into the clerk's office. And so those guys are making it easy for us. But it's going to be a great weekend. I want to thank you guys for the fireworks piece. That's integral too, and being able to shoot the fireworks next door. So anyway, I won't go through the whole entire process, but please join us and send your kids down there to have a great time. Your family. It's going to be a great weekend. We're hoping those 20,000 people come spend a lot of money in Suwannee County. So appreciate you guys and all the staff that you let help us.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak, then make the way to the podium, name and address for the record. Hearing none, this time we'll move on to administrator comments. Mr. Harris, got anything for us?
Just real quick. We are dealing with entities who use the county right-of-way, some of the utilities that are in there, particularly Windstream, those pedestals that you see. On rare occasions, one of our tractors will hit one of those. And we handle that through our insurance. On other occasions, our people aren't anywhere near there. Now, we have daily operator reports. We know where all of our people are every day with equipment. So we get letters and they indicate that they want us to pay for something that we're pretty confident we haven't done. I went down, Commissioner Richardson asked me to meet with a gentleman Friday a week ago, south end of the county. He actually ran over one himself. He eased over into the county right away, had a lot of weeds around it. He ran over it, tore his tractor up. That's a separate issue, but bottom line is I think it's time that we require these entities to flag their equipment, put some type of pipe in there with reflective material on the top, get it up high enough where we can see these things. When that gentleman contacted Windstream, he said that it's the county's right-of-way and the county's responsibility. Well, we aren't responsible for their equipment. I don't want our people hitting their equipment. I don't want anyone else to hit their equipment. So I'm prepared to send a letter to Windstream, but I was going to ask Mr. Pravat, were you of the opinion that we needed to pass an ordinance requiring that?
I believe there, as I mentioned, that there's a specific requirement in 336, and I just can't remember it off the top of my head about what notice you have to do and what they have to do so that we can make sure that the letter one follows, but then when we pass the ordinance, we don't interfere with 336, so.
Well, we're just going to have to do something going forward and put more burden on them. I mean, I'd be thrilled if they were required to go out there with their own maintenance crews and just weed eat around all of these things, large enough perimeter where we didn't have to worry about them, we could see them. But they performed zero maintenance around those pedestals, and plenty of them are invisible. You know, there's a time of the year where these weeds grow up about 4 or 5 foot tall in about 30 days toward the end of summer, and it's impossible to keep up with all of that mess. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that to you. I'm hoping that we can put something together and bring it back to the board for consideration, because we need to require them to do a better job of trying to delineate where these things are. That's about all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, moving on to board member inquiries, requests, and comments. Mr. Richardson, you got anything?
Yes, sir. I want to say thank you. This is a week of Thanksgiving, and I want to say thank you to the sheriff. This morning, we've talked about this last meeting. We have this person around our community that just can't wait for our roads to be graded, so he can go out and do donuts in the middle of the intersection, just tear up the intersections. And yesterday, they graded the roads, did a great job on them. He went in there and just tore them all up, and I called the sheriff today, and Sheriff Johnny on the spot with it, and believes that we may have found the person who's responsible for it, but I'll leave that to them. But I just want to say how much I appreciate your quick response to this thing, because, you know, it's bad enough when it's my issue, but when it becomes other people's issues too, and they're wondering what we're doing about it, and I think that helps. So thank you. What I was wondering is if we could just maybe, if you catch them in the act, we can make them go out there with a rake and a shovel in public and just fix the road.
That might make a fair impact, but we did run some citation, so that's something to remember about it. Maybe we'll solve that problem.
And other than that,
ATVs?
Thanksgiving.
ATVs on the roads?
I don't know what this particular one was.
It was a four-wheeler.
It was a
A
four-wheeler?
yellow four-wheeler with orange wheels.
Do you know about it?
I do. I actually have it wrote down to talk about it tonight, because I didn't know you knew about it.
Yeah, it was an issue.
I actually spoke to the sergeant that pulled up behind him, and he said, when I said, I'm surprised you called him, because, Bubba, you wouldn't have caught me on a four-wheeler. And he said, I was surprised I called him, too. He said he didn't know I was behind him. He couldn't hear me. He said he pulled right up on his bumper, and he hit the lights and the siren, and the boy about fell off the four-wheeler. He got him off, wrote him the citation, and he got on it to leave. He said, hold on, you got two options, push it home or trailer it and get it gone. He said, well, I ain't got a trailer. That boy pushed that four-wheeler back to the house. He said he was about whoop pushing up the hill, but, you know, maybe it taught him a lesson. But, yeah. We appreciate y'all. I mean, it's very rare that you do get to catch one that's causing a problem, and from the description, I heard y'all had the day before. If not the individual, at least a four-wheeler matched the description from the day before that was doing the donuts. So we appreciate it.
Other than that, I just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holidays with your families.
Mr. Fleming?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have too much. I think I said it pretty much all today at the swearing. My third time being sworn in, and I'm very thankful for that. But I would like to say that I wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much food. We look forward to seeing you in the month of December. Last but not least, I want to say that I feel proud, happy when I see individuals trying to do the right thing, designed to do the right thing, want to do the right thing. And lo and behold, it was a surprise for me today. At the Suwannee, my wife, she normally up there, and my mother was up there, but she got my baby. The deputy sitting back there tonight, she utilized him to come in, and when I put my hand on the Bible, and it makes a parent very proud of their children when they do these kind of things, and to wear that badge, it means a lot, spell a lot. Everything is kind of dangerous now. I work in a dangerous environment, hostile environment, and I work the midnight shift. And a lot of times I don't think about it until I come home. You know, what I've been, what I'm doing. But a lot of times we do take things for granted. And Sheriff, I thank you for letting him come tonight, be our security officer tonight. And, I love all my children, but he have a special place in my heart. That I love them all. And I love my grandkids, but he have a special place in my heart. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I thank you. And to Rashard, keep up the good work. Better things to come. You can look at your dad. I'm 61 years old, and I haven't stumbled. I just try to do the best that I can and keep moving forward. Thank you. And I want to welcome Commissioner Stapleton tonight. He got it. I don't know, you had me today, and you had me with tears in my eyes, and I mean that. I really do mean that. He got up, and when he talked, and that emotion just flowed over, and the words that he said was words of truth, and I felt that. So I want to welcome you tonight as the Board of County Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hale?
I just echo Mr. Fleming there. I was at the ceremony this afternoon, and Commissioner Stapleton, I welcome him in. Congratulations to Mr. Fleming again, but there were school board members there and other elected officials, and I just want to, hats off to them. It's a tough job that we do sometimes. Other parts of it is great, but I'm just thankful to see the people who step up to try to serve our community. Again, congratulations to you guys. I appreciate the board electing me as vice chairman, and just got a lot to be thankful for, and I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Congratulations.
Mr. Stapleton?
Yes, sir. A few things here. First thing is, I'm just honored to be on this board with you fellas. I truly realize there's going to be a lot of mountains we got to climb. There's going to be disagreements we're going to have. But one thing we all got, and that's wanting the best for Suwannee County. And I just truly believe we're headed in the right direction. It was headed that way before I got here, and I'm going to do my best to be a part of it. Second thing I'd like to say is, to Mr. Harris, I'd like to commend you, but not you. I'd like to commend you for the office staff you got. They are, I've been in construction and business my whole adult life, and they're above and beyond. If you need something, they're on top of it. One thing I like with them is they don't know the word no. If somebody needs something, they're there to make it happen. And I just want to tell you I appreciate them. Appreciate all y'all for what you do. Department heads, appreciate each one of y'all. A lot of hard work goes into keeping this county running, and it doesn't go unnoticed. With that being said, I just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Christmas on the Square will be here before we come back to our next meeting. I'd like for everybody to try to get out and bring their kids. It's a sight to see when you got snow in Florida. So, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir. I got one thing, just kind of a request. I spoke to you about it a while back, Mr. Harris, about different positions within the county that fall under the Board of County Commissioners that have some sort of authority as far as inspectors and different things, and then as far as outside employment with the county and possible conflicts of interest. I just, I know we talked about it, possible bringing it to the board for a policy change or a way to deal with it, and I was just going to ask you tonight, and maybe Mr. Pravat, to look into it some more, and let's see if we can get that rolling. Just to kind of inform y'all what I'm talking about, just use two positions as an example. Say you got a building inspector or your fire inspector. That just, if they go out and get outside employment through a private company and then wind up doing inspections for that company down the road, it has the potential to pose a conflict. We do have other alternatives as far as agreements with the city to provide those inspections. And I'd just like to maybe see some kind of policy that says if they do take outside employment, that they have to notify the board or if I'm getting out of line, you can straighten me out, but.
No. I mean,
I thought we could fix it in our rules and regs.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
They just notify us, and that's.
I'm just trying to bring the board up to speed on what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
because I'm not aware that I've mentioned it before to any of them in the meeting, so. But, so they have to notify us so that if it does become a conflict, that we can then maybe reach out to City of Live Oak to provide that service for that one individual customer. Anything I said that was out of line?
no, sir.
Okay. You just got antsy and started moving. I figured I was getting out of line.
I was going to ask a question, but I changed my mind.
Okay. I think I spoke to you about the issue I'm talking about as well. You know what? Other than that, Lynn, Ms. Stapleton, Commissioner Stapleton, welcome. Look forward to working with you. I think we can get a lot accomplished. The board's moving in what I believe in the right direction, and it takes people that have an open mind and are willing to look down the road and not behind us, so we can get where we're going. That's why, your rearview mirror is so small and your windshield's so big. But I think we got a good board, and I look forward to working with you. Other than that, I just want to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. And happy Thanksgiving. I'll yield the floor to Mr. Baker.
No, sir. I'll defer to Mr. Harris on that for the moment.
I only want to speak on this issue very, very briefly for some obvious reasons. We've all had so many meetings. In fact, I'd like, Eric, if you can make sure and record this, the board will agree. We are working on an issue. I had commented in the last meeting that we were going to have to pull some information off the website. There is a nationwide issue associated with trying to comply with there's some ADA requirements that no one can comply with. In fact, we haven't discovered that anyone's in compliance when it comes to websites. I won't get into the complexities of it, but it's an issue that we are working on. Mr. Pravat's working on it. I'm working on it. Shannon in my office is working on it. I know Barry and maybe David, too, I'm assuming is involved in it. We're working on a solution. I know Eric's involved. We're talking to lots of entities. There is a lawsuit involved. We think we can resolve this relatively painlessly, but it really it's going to be associated with a condition that we, like all the other counties and municipalities and even private sector companies, are going to have to agree to try to rectify this problem with the information that we make available on websites. And there isn't a solution yet, but we're working on it. So I would just ask, Mr. Chairman, if I could, that we receive authorization, Mr. Pravat and myself and anyone else that's going to be involved in this solution be authorized to go ahead and proceed with what needs to be done at this point. When it comes time for us to enter into an agreement, if it's a settlement or otherwise associated with the legal challenges, we'd bring that back to the board for consideration and action by the board. But for now, we just need authorization to proceed with what we're trying to do to mitigate any significant damages going forward.
Any questions for Mr. Harris? I don't have a problem with that, Mr. Harris. We had, was it yesterday we met about it, or the day before? And
Yeah, I'll provide more details to commissioners individually, so the other option we have is to go into an executive session and all, but there's nothing that I'm going to be sharing that's a conflict with anyone. I can just bring y'all up to speed on where we are. I've met with Commissioner Stapleton today.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
as Mr. Harris said, we had a conversation today, and I'm in support of what his intentions are and what he's trying to do, and move forward.
You just need consensus of the board to move forward, or does he need a motion from the board to move forward? Mr. Wright?
Census.
Good.
Everybody's good with it. Everybody's indicated they're fine. All right.
That's all.
That's all? All right, good deal. If there's no other business, just need a motion to adjourn, fellas.
Move adjourned.
Got a motion to adjourn, I got a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Thank you all for coming out.
Enjoy yourself.
Yes, you too.